Hello there, and a very warm welcome to another edition of the program. I'm Victor Matthias. The internet touches almost all aspects of everyone's daily life, whether we realize it or not. However, due to stalkers, cyberbullies, and cyber criminals, one has to be very aware of how to keep his head above waters while using this phenomenon that has come to stay, at least until something else far more efficient comes up. So on the program today, we will be speaking to experts on how to protect oneself as part of the National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, designed to engage, educate, and provide people with tools and resources needed to stay safe online. However, let's take a moment and breeze through the trending topics in the past week. A roadmap for the development of Nigeria's oil and gas sector named the 7 Big Wins was launched by the president in Abuja, and Nigerian Twitterati had their say as to whether or not oil will take the country out of recession. Usual suspects Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, and others were shortlisted for the Ballon d'Or award for the year, and the debate has already begun on who takes the coveted prize home when it is announced. Twitter users launched the hashtag #GovernorsGoToWork to express their views on the current attitude of some state governors and what they need to do to cushion the effect of the current hardship being faced by citizens. Well, for once, all the blocs on Twitter agreed on a particular topic and are asking state governors and local government chairmen to go to work. Well, back to the focus of the day. First, I'm joined by the President, Cybersecurity Experts Association of Nigeria, Mr. Remy Afon. Thanks for coming on the program. And we also have Muyiwa Matuluko, who is the editor-in-chief of techpoint.ng. Thanks for joining us. Well, Muyiwa, let me start from you. Give us a sense as to what cybersecurity or cybercrime or cyber attacks is at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, so cybersecurity is the practice of preventing unauthorized access to personal electronic data. So the number of measures or practices that are taken and the enforcement against unauthorized access to electronic data. These are what make up cybersecurity.
Thank you, Muyiwa. But Remy, is there any law guiding against cyber crimes in Nigeria?
Yeah, there's a law, against the cybercrime. In April 2015, the government actually passed a law that is called a Cybercrime Act in 2015. So there's a law in the country that is against cybercrime.
So how much progress have we made?
Because it's quite new, and there's need for capacity building on the part of law enforcement agencies and even the judiciary. They need to familiarize themselves with the provisions of the law. So the prosecution is picking up, but at the moment, there is a lot of work that needs to be done, really, in that regard. But we can say it's picking up. But as time goes on, there will be need to address certain gaps in that cybercrime law.
Muyiwa, to what extent can you say Nigerians are aware of the phenomenon?
So awareness is very poor, generally. Much of what people know about cybercrime is limited to Yahoo, that's internet fraud. But there's so many levels to cybercrime and cybersecurity. So awareness is very poor generally, and I'll tie that down to the media and technology stakeholders not doing enough to raise that awareness, because there's so much that needs to be done to create the awareness. But generally, our rates awareness very poor, very poor.
So what are the challenges?
Okay, so the first thing is I would say is literacy, and by literacy I mean internet literacy. So not enough people are conversant with the internet in Nigeria, and this ties very much to the fact that internet penetration is very low. So depending on who you ask, broadband penetration is between 13 to 20%, and then overall internet penetration in Nigeria is about 46, 47%. So generally, access is low to the internet. So to be able to have knowledge of something, you have to have access to it. So that's the first challenge, the access. Now, for those who are on there, they don't know enough. Like the like I mentioned earlier, the media and technology experts are not doing enough. There's so much that they need to do to educate people as to how to the best practices or habits to engage in when they are on the internet. Because largely for a lot of people, the internet is just about entertainment. But there's so much more that the internet is tied to, financial services and all of that. So apart from the access to it, the literacy to understanding how the internet works is a challenge. Another challenge would be resistance to change, because even for those who are used to the internet, the amount of the convenience they get from it far outweighs the disadvantages, and it takes a lot of effort to convince them to change the habits, the way they do things currently, to prevent access to their personal data. So that's what I'll say generally.
All right, Remy, let me come back to you. How much will you say the Cybercrime Advisory Council has done in preventing cyber crimes or even attacks?
Yeah, first and foremost, let me just quickly chip into. Well, I totally agree with what Muyiwa said. Okay. And to be honest, low cybersecurity awareness is a gift for hackers, because obviously, because people are not aware, they're going to have a field day. So coming back to your question, and we, like you rightly said, we have a Cybercrime Advisory Council, but we are yet to see their agenda. This has been inaugurated for about 6 months ago now, and the cyber criminals are not stopping in their act. So there's a need for them to be up to speed with the damages that these cyber criminals are causing to the economy of the country, and be able to come up with their plan of action to be able to address all these phenomena. And saying that, it's not something that they can do alone. That is what they need for public-private partnership. And we've got a cybersecurity policy and strategy in place, which the previous administration was able to come up with as a document to that regard. And within that document, that's what we call a strategy for public-private partnership. So there's a need for them to implement that. There's also skills and manpower development within that policy. There's also security awareness that Muyiwa was talking about within that policy. So there's need for the Advisory Council to start working and start getting things done as a matter of urgency.
All right, so what damage has cybercrime or attacks done to the economy? Like, how much money has the economy lost due to cyber attacks or cybercrime?
Yeah, in monetary terms, just recently the Minister of Communication released a figure about 127 billion naira annually, and talking about the global cybersecurity loss from Nigeria is $9.7 billion. So that's just to tell you the loss that is to the economy globally and to the economy in Nigeria. And not to talk about the loss to individuals, when people get their money wiped out, in a matter of seconds, that's going to hit them so badly. So obviously it's causing a lot of damages, and we need to.
Okay, so obviously increased awareness is one thing that should be done. There have been some efforts already. Just last week, I was at the US Embassy where they organized an event to sensitize people in the media, law enforcement, on the cyber security awareness month and all of that, which is good. But I would like to see more of that, especially locally. Government should play an active role in that. Another area should be law enforcement. Again, there have been some efforts in that area. Just last week also, or 2 weeks ago, we heard that the Nigeria Police Force was organizing training for law enforcement officials. They've created a special unit for cybercrime, and they're training the officials on how to investigate on the web and understand all of that. I think there should be more of that. There should be more trainings. They should bring in more experts. On the general level, too, the government, like I said before, should play an active role. And then definitely, like they always say, the weakest link in all cybercrimes, most cybercrimes are always the end users themselves. People like you and me who use our laptops, our phones to access the internet. So we should also check ourselves, the habits, our habits, our internet habits. We should see how we can improve on them. We're talking about using stronger passwords, talking about how you connect on the internet, be more observant, being able to understand when you are likely to be under a cyber attack.
Yeah, awareness is key, because without awareness, people won't be able to know what to do and know the threats out there. So I agree with me in that direction as well. There's need for awareness, and there's need for cooperation on all parts of the private sectors and the public sectors as well in driving this. The government cannot do this alone. That's what we call the National Cyber Security Alliance in America. So basically what they do is they have public-private partnership whereby all organizations support cybersecurity awareness. So there's need for us to have something like that in this country. Then there's what we call National Vulnerability Assessment, which is part of the policy and strategy of the government. So there's a need to implement that. We need to know how vulnerable we are so that we'll be able to protect ourselves against whatever attack that is coming in. Also within that policy, there is what we call critical infrastructure, protection of critical infrastructure. So what are the infrastructure that we have? When we are talking about critical infrastructure, we are talking about infrastructures that the country rely on for day-to-day running of activities, that if it's grounded, it's going to affect the economy seriously. A good example is telecoms, airline, power, and so on and so forth. So there's need for us to identify those critical infrastructures to start with and come up with control measures to protect them.
All right, guys, thanks for coming on the program and sharing your thoughts. We'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll get another perspective on this very contentious issue. Stay with us.